Hey, welcome to the new episode of the Naughty Marketer podcast. This is episode of 4 of the second season, episode 17 of the entire show. So today we're going to be talking about Black Friday and Cyber Monday 2021, how Twitter stock has rebounded after Jax has said the farewell, Trump's social network being based on Mastodon, and many more news. Stick around. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Not Your Marketer podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me again. This episode was recorded live on Friday, December the 3rd. And without any further ado, let's go into the headlines. So, there was a glitch. I'm sorry. The first thing that I wanted to talk about has to do with the Black Friday. If you take a look at the news, there are different approaches and different perspective of what Black Friday 2021 has been. We have seen that many people stop going to the physical store in some portions. Then we also saw some people that were purchasing more than ever before online. And then we have this kind of news that are like kind of interesting. Take a look at this. So Amazon has announced or has said that they had the best Thanksgiving sales ever, and also the Cyber Monday this year. And it is something that, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense, especially when people start to see a lot of risk when they going outside and going to physical spaces with some other people. But there are some other important things to note, like let's take a look at this news from Marketing Tech News, for instance, stating that 2/3 of Gen Z feels out of touch with traditional Black Friday marketing, which is kind of amazing also, because if you take a look at the different approaches that many very innovative brands has been doing for promoting Black Friday events and sales and so forth, they are not so different than what we could see 10 years ago. I mean, the medium and the technology also, obviously adds some things to it, but in addition to that, it is pretty much the same. Then you see information like this one from Practical E-commerce, stating that 61% of consumers purchase holiday gift before Thanksgiving Day, so they purchase way before Black Friday. And this has to do with something that some people were mentioning, that is like it is not Black Friday anymore. It's more like Black November, because we have discounts being available for customers and consumers way before Black Friday, and they were expanding also way after Cyber Monday as well. And also, just to wrap this up, there was an article, very interesting article on Forbes, that said, was explaining how by the fact that local retail stores has seen a wane in the purchases during Black Friday is not all bad. And there are many different reasons why. The first thing, obviously, because it means that finally that jump into the online platforms has been already been embraced by customers, but also because it means that that very scarcity element that many of the brands and company has been using for this, we marketer are using, is not having the same impact on people. It could be in part because of the way people are able to get the products they need for throughout the year without having to wait until a specific moment in time where the prices are going to be reduced, but also because due to the pressure on the supply chain in many different industries, it means that many people was able to actually get their own products. And I was reading some other news just before starting recording the show, how gift card has been booming because of the fears that some people may have about their products not being available on time for the holidays, which is also something interesting. So going to the next headline, one of the things that I wanted to mention regarding the wrap up of 2021, and that I didn't mention in the excerpt, has to do with Spotify. You know that Spotify makes this it's kind of a tradition now when they launch the wrap year that you may have. In this case for 2021, this is an article from Morning Brew that we're seeing if you're watching the video. For global artists, like top artists, things like Bad Bunny, Taylor Swift, BTS, Drake, obviously top album from Olivia Rodrigo's Sour, and Driver's License, like the top song. But it is amazing to me, and the thing that I wanted to talk about, how come that Spotify is the only one in the music streaming services in field that is capitalizing on this thing, like using data in order to engage with their users and with their customers. And this is something that probably all of you have been seeing throughout the latest days on social media. A lot of people using or posting their wrapped synthesis of data based on their listening preferences. If you think about this is just a cool way of putting just some assets that you have, that in this case is the data from the usage of each customers that you have on the platform, to let them know where their preferences were, but also to engage on a social scale. It is interesting though that it is only at Spotify the only one that is trying to capitalize on it, and this has been like that before as well. So another thing, and another new has to do with, and this comes from Mashable, where I was reading that, about how Donald Trump's social media platform, it is based on, which is called Truth Social. It's based on Mastodon. I don't know if all of you are familiar with what Mastodon is, but Mastodon is a blockchain federated social network, micro-blogging social network. So it's more like Twitter. So this was kind of surprising for some people. In my case, what I was thinking, they have been saying before that, they haven't been like confirming this before, and Mastodon has even threatened in some moments to Truth Social of being violating their open source licenses. But what the idea of a federated social network and of having social media coming to the blockchain, it is essentially one of the things that Trump is looking for, which is having a place where you are not going to be able to be banned, nor by the company, nor by any government, so that you can say whatever you do, for good or for bad, and without having any people jumping from the outside or any intervention from the outside to cut you down, which is essentially what happened to him both on Twitter and on Facebook at some points, right? So it is interesting because this could be the case for many people living in countries where the freedom of speech is being threatened. So I would say that probably it is very difficult for us to made the case up for or against these kind of approaches, because we could end up being hypocrites in the sense that essentially what they're trying to aim here is to leverage on the main advantage of moving to the blockchain, which is incredibly great because you also are going to become more reliable, and it's going to be more difficult for countries and governments like back in my home country, Venezuela, that the government has tried to shut down and actually succeeded in shutting down different social media services when things get critical inside a country. But here is where things get even more complicated, right? Because how can you measure on something, and how can you control on something that is not necessarily ethical if you're going to do that on the social platform? Yet again, the fact that Mastodon works on isolated kind of islands makes it even more secure and reliable, but also more susceptible for these kind of situations to happen. And it could also serve as a way for, some other groups to use the platform for things that are way out of the intentions of what Mastodon should be, which is essentially giving power to the people to create their own communities based on common interest. But we will have to wait and see how these evolve in the future as well. So I was reading on the New York Times that Twitter's stocks, they rose more than 15% in the previous days after the farewell of Jack Dorsey, and I was reading some articles and reading some comments that you have to try your best to be the best CEO or manager at a company, that whenever you leave that company you don't see the stocks going up, because that doesn't necessarily say too much good things about you. So right now the thing here is that that the CTO is taking over the Jack Dorsey's spot in the company, and there's a lot of uncertainty on how this change is going to be able to bring a much needed change of perspective for Twitter, so that it could be profitable, and how can be monetized. That they have been trying to launch many different services like Twitter Blue, for example, that looks promising, but they're still way off the mark that for social networks people and investors are looking for. And I wanted to share this article based to wrap this up. This is a very short episode, as you may imagine. Marketing Tech News again. That explain how half of the top websites on the internet fail to meet Google's user experience requirements. So it is not a surprise for me, being working in this field, and things like they mentioned the Google's core web vitals, which are those kind of things like first contentful paint, first input delay, cumulative layout shift, and many of the things that you can measure using the Google page speed insights. If you try to do this on your own and try to look for the top websites that you frequent the most, you're going to find that most of them are way under the 50% mark. So in this article, they say that by January 2020, only 22% of desktop top 100% were having a good top performance according to Google, for the fact of this being one of the most important metrics that every digital marketer should follow. I would say that give mixed messages to us, because and this is something to keep in mind also, coming from the AMP debacle from Twitter, from Google, and how they were caught into benefiting people that used AMP, and how they throttle down websites that they didn't use AMP, then you have these kind of things you can see. And I mean, it has happened to me that I have some client with websites that are not top notch. We struggle a lot to bring them past the 75% or points out of 100 mark on Google page speed insights, and yet still managing to get a lot of traffic and a great performance in terms of financial aspects. Just make the case that even though that Google uses a lot of user experience values and KPIs to measure this, at the end of the day, there is a human factor that is going to make us give a little bit more of freedom of movement whenever we want to adapt or implement any new feature or any new methodology. And there is one additional thing that I was starting reading just before starting to record the episode, and it has to do with more or less customer experience, but customer success, what I would say. So this article comes from CNBC, and it has to do with a new job at McDonald's that is going to foreseen, and it's going to be like the watchdog of consumer behavior. So one of the things that apparently McDonald's is figuring out now is that the changes on their consumer behaviors is something that needs to be paid a little bit more attention. So no surprises here again. However, I think that this is a great thing to do. One element that we find once and over again in many companies, and you would be surprised on how many companies that are rather like innovative, they fail to reach the mark, is that they don't pay too much attention on how the customer is changing. And we are just at the doorstep of having Gen Z becoming the dominant generation now. So we're going to have a new wave of new consumer habits and new consumer behaviors and preferences and needs. And we need to adapt not only the communication, but also we need to understand what kind of product, what kind of services they are going to be valuing. And this is like the most important thing for companies to keep moving forward, to evolve, to be able to adapt and to understand, so that they can give the products and the best experience possible to their customers. So guys, that's it for today's episode. Thank you once again for being here. I'm trying to make the episode shorter so that it is going to be rather easy or easier for you to keep listening to. As usual, please send me any feedback that you may have. I will be more than grateful to hear what you think about this. Make sure to subscribe on my on YouTube, on any podcast provider that you may have. And please be safe. Here in Spain, we're going to have very long weekend, 5 days of holidays almost. So for those of you listening from Spain, have a great holiday. And for the rest of you, we'll see you 2 weeks from now. Bye-bye. Take care.